Ladies, gentlemen, and friends beyond the binary, by the way, just a warning, you're about to see something very hideous. Just don't try not to be shocked. Hi. I broke my glasses. And these are my backup, this is my backup pair that I am sitting on because it is COVID times, and so it's not exactly the easiest thing to get an eye doctor appointment and get new glasses right now. So until I get through that process, you're going to have to tolerate this. I hate these glasses so much. I think they make me look... They make my eyes look smaller, and they make me always look permanently sad. Anyways, hi, my name is Tristan Johnson. I am the host of YouTube channels Step Back History and Tristan Won't Shut Up. I'm a streamer 3 days a week on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays. On Mondays, the show you're watching right now, going from noon Eastern Time until 2, is a show called the Monday Discourse, where we will be joined by Mia Mulder, and we'll talk about the internet and fun, weird stuff there. Tuesday nights, 7 to 9 Eastern, I do Step Back Tonight, where I just directly interact with the audience, and it's fun. We do good stuff. And then on Fridays, we do the Reactor, which goes from noon till 2, same time as this, but on Fridays, where I respond to things that people send me on Discord. It's a real ride. My work I go by he, him pronouns, and my work can be found at stepbackhistory.com or tristanwon'tshutup.com. Likewise, if you want to help support my work and you have Amazon Prime, you can do so without any extra cost to you. Amazon Prime lets you have one free Twitch Prime subscription per month, which if you don't use, Amazon just gets to keep your money. So if you want to help an independent Twitch creator, you can use that Amazon or that Twitch Prime subscription on some independent Twitch creator on the platform. If you choose Step Back, I'll be very grateful, since, I have glasses to buy, and I have rent, and because of some pretty crazy shenanigans in the last week, I'll be moving in about a month, I'll be moving in a little over a month, and then I'll have mortgage payments to pay for. So you will be helping out with that. If you want to see my latest video on Step Back, it's about the white power movement, and basically, it's about the white power movement and how it was structured, how it was organized, and how law enforcement sort of let it grow out of control in the 80s. My next video on that channel is going to be about Japan. And what about Japan? It's going to be about the Japanese socialists that popped up during the American occupation, and how they fought, how they successfully made a lot of attempts to get, better workers' rights, to help with food insecurity, and a bunch of really important stuff. But then also how the American occupation decided that democracy wasn't worth fighting communism over. And so, stuff. I'm going to be filming that video later today, so we'll see how that goes. The latest Tristan Won't Shut Up video is about Amazon and about Jeff Bezos, and specifically about how it's organized and how we can steal a lot of its stuff. And my next Tristan Won't Shut Up video is going to be about index funds, which should be coming out later this week. So that's all good. Hello, everybody in the chat. I see there's some great people. And I see, yes, I see Birdie in the, there's a Discord. Where is it? I'll put a link to the Discord in just a second. Birdie Blake, by the way, who drew the splash art for this channel, is a very, very talented artist who you should give money to draw things. D&D characters, personas, channel art. I push their work on everybody I can, so please help them become an artist, or they're already an artist. Help them become a famous, wealthy artist, because Birdie should be bathed in money for the amount of talent they have. And yeah, pay them to draw stuff. All right, now I'll put a link to the Discord. So, oh yes, yeah, Birdie's got some serious surgery that needs to be paid for with art, so please help out if you can. I just put a link to the Discord for everybody. Okay. What do I got next on this thing? Yes, if you have questions you want to submit, I most guarantee we're not going to be able to answer it today. But unless you had something really quick that you just post in the chat. But if you have a question that you absolutely want guaranteed for us to get to at some point in the future, I just put another link in the chat to a place where you can submit questions to sort of help give this stream constant things to be working on. Next up, last thing before we get me on the horn, is that if this is your first time here, and chances are there are some of you, because Step Back's had quite a week. I've been getting about 1,000 subscribers every 2 days for now we're into the third week of that happening. So much so that it's possible that Step Back could hit 100,000 subscribers in January if this just keeps going the way it does. Yeah, so there might be some new people, and if you are a new person, please make yourself known. Say hello in the chat, because we've got a really great community in the YouTube and Twitch chats that you should get involved with. Yeah. So that's all the opening spiel, but I know what you guys are really here for. You want to see Mia content, so let's get Mia content going. Hello.
Oh god, I can see you're talking, but I can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Everything's awful again.
Hello. Also, I think you're really quiet, so we might need to get you boosted a bit. Let's just raise your volume.
Okay, I can't hear you. You're very low again. I don't know why. Oh, I found out why. Hello?
Hello.
Oh god. Oh, Jesus. Good god. Hello. I can hear you, and I can hear you loud and clear now.
Right, I'm going to turn your volume up a little bit. You're a little quiet on my end, but that's fine. Luckily, Discord has a volume button.
And thank God it does.
So yes, this is Mia Mulder.
Yes, indeed.
So
I am Mia Mulder.
Please tell everybody who Mia Mulder is.
Mia Mulder is a YouTuber who does YouTube videos about stuff, discourse, and similar things. Sorry, my hair is a mess. I'm just gonna get that.
Of course, yeah, it's a mess. Now you're just gonna shake it out, so it's like slow motion, like some sort of TV show. You're like, 1 second, my hair. Just.
Listen, sometimes you gotta take care of it.
I could do that. What's it called? I am. I probably have got like 6-7 years tops having hair. I think this is called. So.
What a phrasing.
Until I join the legions of YouTubers that are bald men with beards.
What'd you say?
Until I join the legions of YouTubers who are bald men with beards.
Yeah, exactly. But that should go well. Did you say 1,000 subscribers every 2 days?
Yeah. Yeah. It's slowed down to every 3 days, but yeah, it's been bananas.
Jesus.
Yeah. So this is like a thing that we should hash out a little bit, because I think you've had some pretty good views too, and I'm having this suspicion that because it's all traced to around November 25th, is it not?
Yes.
And it seems like
things just became better.
On November 25th, everybody that I know anyway, or a lot of people that I know, have started seeing explosive growth on YouTube. I think the biggest one is, has anyone heard about the YouTuber that approximately every human being on Earth discovered last week, Ordinary Things?
No.
Oh, you'll have fun.
What?
Ordinary Things. It's a very fun British YouTuber who, anyways, went from 20,000 to 180,000 subscribers since November 26th. Or November 25th.
Good lord. They've been doing videos for a while, haven't they?
It's only been a year.
Huh.
Then again, I was like, yeah, you started about a year or 2 years ago?
2 years ago,
yeah. So, yeah, something weird's going on. I have a feeling that the algorithm changed on YouTube, because it's all algorithm traffic, which makes me think that they're starting to... Because, like, before this... Because, like, on the experiencing side of YouTube, on watching, like, regular YouTube, I'm also noticing that the homepage is starting to recommend me more different channels, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm getting new channels, and I'm also getting recommended older videos. Like, it recommended me a Bo Burnham video from 12 years ago yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So something changed in the black box that we all pray to and sacrifice our lives to, that has rewarded us today.
The black box. Yeah.
Very interesting. I don't know what the story is, but I will. The answer is I'll take it. And yeah, the other thing that I can't. Okay, we'll get a little personal with this because I'm curious about this situation. So, as Mia knows, and I kind of hinted at the beginning of this stream, that I bought a house yesterday. Or should I say, Kelly and I bought a house yesterday.
Yeah.
And because various complicated reasons, but mostly it has to do with the fact that if you want to save up money, putting it in like a mutual fund right now is kind of a waste of time because, there's basically no stonks happening. So, and Ontario has a runaway housing price thing going on right now. So we were gonna get one in 2023, but we were like, we should probably do it right now, though.
Yeah, like, you may as well.
Yes, so we bought a house, very nice house. We got it for a really good price, and also it's like a built in 1918 house, so it's like an Edwardian house. So it's all very, very fun. And I was like very nervous about saying that publicly, because I was like, oh no, am I doing a bourgeoisie by being a homeowner? I can't remember. I haven't read enough theory to know if I'm gonna get executed when the revolution comes now.
I mean, I think you'll be fine as long as you don't like buy it and rent it out.
No, but
like homeowner, I think it's fine. Home, like a landlord, I think is bad.
Okay, so I'm allowed to buy a house.
Only one though.
Yeah.
Maybe two, but you're not allowed to rent it out.
Okay.
Sorry, I've just been looking at the details for ordinary things and becoming insanely envious.
Oh yeah, what's it called? And the guy's really. The thing is that the channel's been like going along slowly, but like has made it in like very, very clever content, and so I'm really glad that new voice. Not only am I glad that your channel's blowing up. That's such good news because I've been betting that Mia's gonna blow up any day now.
Well, I haven't blown up really. My last video is doing okay compared to this person who is getting what 3.5 million views last week.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Ordinary Things is like is in a very specific situation.
Yeah, good lord.
But I am happy to see more people seeing. I'm glad that YouTube is recommending more channels and more channels from that kind of like awkward middle-sized channel range of like us and the 5-digit club, I guess you should say, which is where you're big enough to no longer consider yourself a small YouTuber, but you're a bit too small to consider yourself like you don't have that little check mark by your name on the YouTube videos.
Yeah, you're not part of the big wait, what the fuck are you called? You're not like part of the big leagues just yet.
Yeah. You haven't gotten your button.
Not yet. Mm-hmm. Jesus Christ. Yeah, sorry. You let me know about this, and this is going to rack my brain for the next 100 years.
Just the numbers?
Yeah, just the numbers.
Now, you used to say in the past that you had an interest in stocks. Do you just have an interest in graphs that are going up? Just looking at graphs going in the upward direction. That's just like...
yeah.
It's very European of you.
I like
when the graph goes up.
I like a graph go up. It's true. Okay. Okay. I need to disconnect from this. Otherwise, I'm gonna have like envious anxiety for like another week.
Think about it this way: is that sometimes patience pays off, and if you just like this is happening on Step Back, and I've been doing Step Back since 2015, and this is like the biggest explosion I've had in stuff. So sometimes, thank you Kamikon for hosting my stream. Sometimes your ship does come in. It just takes a super fucking long time. Anyways.
Yeah, I mean you're right, but still. Listen, okay, I need to tell myself like I need to be thankful for what I have. I have good fans. I can pay rent. I don't need to. I need to. It's fine. It's fine.
Welcome to YouTuber therapy.
Oh God. They need YouTube for real though needs to like offer therapy for YouTubers, especially those in the mid-size.
Yeah.
Because if you're big, you can afford therapy for yourself. If you're small, I'm not like when I was a very small YouTuber, I never really had the anxieties of like, oh, I need to have constant exponential growth or I'm a failure. I was just like happy to do videos and have fun. And it's in the mid-range also where YouTube like tells you, hey, you didn't do good enough this week. Last week was
especially
you did better last week.
Yeah.
Better.
Especially if you're on that monthly cycle of videos. Because monthly, like if a video does poorly, you're like, oh, I have to stare at that 7 out of 10 for the next month.
Yeah. Which is great for mental health.
Yeah, YouTube is wonderful at having extremely opaque data that you because it's so arbitrary and it's based on machine learning algorithms that no human being understands, that you can just internalize everything and just see a number and say that is my worth as a human being is this. And for people who everybody under capitalism has a fragile self feeling of self-worth, and it just is. It's fun. I love the roller coaster is real.
The roller coaster is real, and it's terrible and awful, and I hate it.
The best way to be a YouTuber is to spend very little time on YouTube. That's the trick.
That is the trick.
So, gosh. This is a fun, interesting situation. I think it's at least worth talking about. People don't know about this side of YouTubing.
Yeah. Okay, I need to disconnect myself from this. I'm gonna obsess about it. It's not great.
With all hope, I'll get that play button next year, and then I will stop. Because like I'll get it, and then I'll never have to think about subscribers ever again. And it's like that's gonna happen, right?
Yeah, you're definitely gonna have that thought, for sure.
I'm gonna look at that play button and be like, "There, I solved it. No more.
I did it. I don't have to have anxiety about it ever again."
Yep. All of my friends who are north of 100K, I learned that lesson. All of them don't care about subscribers anymore. What you need to do, the most mentally healthy person on earth on YouTube is another man who has recently joined the Bald Beard Brigade, who lives in the woods, and every once in a while emerges from the woods with a video.
Who once a year comes to give us a lovely video.
Yeah. God, we talk about Harry a lot on this stream, and it's fine.
Can I tell you a fun story?
Sure.
It's a very short story, but so for one reason or another, Harry found like some comment on Facebook that was about me, that just said she is covered in honey, because it's one of my profile pictures that I wear pour syrup all over my face, along with a picture to illustrate this. And it's a very fun picture. It's a very fun comment, being like, hey, this is a bit weird. But do you imagine the fucking terror you get when you wake up in the morning, you make yourself a cup of tea, and you just see in your like phone notification thing that from Harry, who rarely speaks to anyone because he lives in the woods, and it just says, in parentheses, she is covered in honey.
Yeah,
You kind of question reality at that point. You don't really know what to do.
it's a fun life being friends with Harry, just because just months and months of silence, and then just this like thing fun.
Just shit like that, yeah.
Being a what's it called? Being a friend with Harry is like being a subscriber of H Bomber Guy. Just every once in a long while, something comes out of the woods, and it's really funny. Including when I don't know. I don't think he's done a video since he changed his look, but very recently he's like started growing a beard and shaving his head. So he's turned into like a Hideo Kojima villain, and it's
Yeah, his I don't really. I'll be honest. I haven't really kept up that much with what I was doing.
oh yeah. It was just I just randomly saw it on Facebook one day, and I was like, oh, this is new.
Oh,
He went he's
he's a
going
villain.
like because like he looks very youthful because he's also a very young guy, but like from this like new look, he goes from looking like he's 16 to looking like he's 30 in like instantly. It's interesting. Anyways, this is really not stream content.
Yeah, we're kind of just vibing. Let's answer some questions.
Yeah. This is a question that I got, and then I realized after I had partially answered it that this person requested to get your take too. So this is a question about: have you ever heard of Abdullah Öcalan?
Oh, I've heard the name.
And he is basically like while he was never directly involved because he is in prison. He is the intellectual father of everything that's going on in Rojava.
Yeah.
And he invented a political, like a book called The Economy of, what was it? The Ecology of Democracy or something like that. And it's basically the ideological foundation of something called democratic confederalism.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to know what we thought about this developing thing.
The development that he's in jail, or
No, democratic confederalism. He's been in jail for like decades.
so democratic confederalism. Our opinions on that in general.
Yeah.
I haven't read that much about it, but it seems to be a like a well working system that sort of that is that incorporates like a lot of like ideas about anarchism and like what's it called? It's like a pragmatic view of anarchism, sort of.
Yeah.
In the sense of like, there are things that we can do, and those things we will do, but there are things we cannot do, so we will not try to do. I desperately need to like read into more about it. It's not something that I have read into enough about, if I'm sorry to say.
Yeah, so yeah, it's like this. There's a really great video by another YouTuber, another trans YouTuber who is very underappreciated, named Elliot Dawson. Let me try to get her stuff here. I'm trying to remember what, because she renamed her channel the other day, and I was like, I don't remember what it's named anymore. But she did a really great video on democratic confederalism and how it can be implemented in the United States of America. And like it's so it's basically an idea of do democracy, try to keep like every like decision should be made as local as possible, and with as little like basically at its core is stuff like strong restorative justice model and a strong belief in local autonomy and local like letting local people and different because it's based on like how do you run a sort of like socialist anarchist society in a place like the Middle East, where the Middle East is full of very ancient religions, cultures, language groups, tribes, like all these different factions that result in people having like even compared to us like extremely complicated layered identities that make things that are a lot more local and community based.
Yeah.
And so the idea is, well, we should have this system where things are kept pretty autonomous and pretty local, and that we collaborate on things as much as is absolutely necessary on a case-by-case basis. And so instead of having like permanent, large structures like federal governments or global institutions, we keep things super local and only like create larger structures as sort of like an ad hoc system in the cases that they're actually needed. So like instead of like saying we need a big overarching federal government because what if we get a COVID again, instead being like, well, why don't we have like a COVID program and that's it, and not have to be folded into the larger state structure. And that when it comes to like crime and punishment and stuff like that, treating things more like a very much on a restorative justice model, and also taking like all disagreements and working things out to a kind of bring the parties into the room and get them to work things out. And it is sort of the idea behind what's going on in Rojava, and that's the thing. Like that's what Rojava are to different extents operate under.
So it seems like a fairly interesting idea that's well made.
Yes, and it's being promoted heavily by podcaster and I would argue the imagine Step Back but better content creator Robert Evans.
Oh yeah, Robert Evans. Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, that makes sense. That seems like something he'd be into.
And it's through his experience of actually going to Rojava and talking about it. How is Rojava handling COVID? I don't know. Honestly, I haven't heard much from this year. Okay, so I was looking for a thing, and then
I'm gonna look it up.
I'm gonna find Elliot Dawson's video on democratic confederalism. So the channel I was talking about that made a video about this is named Red Letter Days. And then I'm going to get a link. I'm going to put it in the chat so that you guys can watch it after this video is over anyway. After the stream.
Yeah. After the stream. Not right now. Please, yeah. We need to stay on the line.
We need the validating numbers. We need the graph.
We need the internet number go up.
Mm-hmm.
Or the brain beasts take over.
Yeah. The darkness comes in.
Don't let the darkness set in. Don't let it set in.
Oh man, now I gotta do that as a call to action. Don't let the darkness come in. My self-worth is tied directly to the likes and shares.
Very healthy attitude industry we have.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's a cool Kurdish thing. I'm excited to see where that goes. The next question we got here, and maybe you'll know more about this because this is about Europa politics, Politic Europa.
Yes.
Which is a thing.
I've played that video game.
Which is another thing that Tristan doesn't know much about. This is about the place where the Mulders come from. About what's it called? Cloglands. Tulip land.
So, yeah, the Atlantis, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, the city that has literally had to build a giant wall to keep it from sinking into the sea. I have been keeping track of Dutch left-wing electoral politics these last few weeks, and they are very much in the process of burning all bridges behind them and basically alienating their own principles and their own voter base. I don't know if my cat being in front of the microphone is blocking my microphone, but okay.
No, it's all good.
Can any kind of proper progress be made by parliamentary parties like this? I want to say yes, but it does not look like it.
The only way to deal with that is what left-wing parties historically have done, and secede from parties and start their own. Because once parties start burning bridges, like they're not gonna like return on that front anytime soon. So the only way to sort of make those left-wing parties like really fearful, because that's what you want. You always want your politicians to be afraid of you, which is a real like V for Vendetta quote. I just realized after saying it, real edgy. But the point is that, like, if the party thinks it can just burn bridges and not lose any support, and in an attempt to sort of gain support on the right wing, for example, you need to you need to kind of scare them away from doing that by forming your own political party and taking as many members as you can with you from out of that party. At which point, the original party will have to have a sort of showdown with itself, being like, are they going to like reconsider, or are they going to like double down on it? Because either way, you win. Because if you take a lot of people with you from out of the party and you gain representation, your left-wing politics still has representation in parliament or wherever you're going. Or if the main party is like, oh shit, we shouldn't have done that, we need to cater to our base again, those ideas still have representation.
Yeah.
If you don't leave the party, then they're just gonna leave and your ideas won't exist anymore. So you need to split the party. It's what I'm saying. You need to split the party. It actually works.
This does not translate to Dungeons and Dragons, friends. This is not Dungeons and Dragons advice that you should take. Never split the party. But the thing is, you can do this because there's two things I know about Dutch politics. It's one, windmills can vote. Two, it's that they have proportional representation. Like they're
with no entry requirement, as far as I know. Like you don't need to, as long as you can fill one seat, you can get in parliament.
And that's why, if I remember correctly, like I don't know too much about Dutch elections, except that they had like a weird neo-Nazi that looked like what's his name,
like Donald Trump.
Yeah, and then at the other time, and then the other thing is that every time they go to the polls, they get this like ballot that has like 150 political parties on it that you can vote for.
Yeah. That's kind of a consequence of like, if you can get enough votes to fill one seat in parliament, you can get in, which I like a lot, because that means if you have like a wild political idea, if you have enough supporters to fill a seat, that idea can be represented.
Listen, this can be tough for America.
Should be demolished.
This would be tough for America. Look, America had an election that lasted more than one day, and the country went fucking crazy.
America could never do this.
Like, can you imagine? Because like, the thing is, like, when proportional representation governments have elections, they then have like they can spend weeks to months building the coalition afterwards, like figuring out what the government's going to be, what coalition is going to create the government, and like. Can you imagine America doing that? It would be so weird.
America could never. America could never.
America
you have to do a balance between sort of regional representation, which is what America has a lot of, because even in the House, which is the more democratic one, you still have like congressional districts which are gerrymandered to shit. But they are regional. Like there are people from one specific region who elect one person to go represent them, and which historically has been used in like larger countries. Which is why, like Sweden and the Netherlands, for example, which are a bit smaller, like we can have one region, and and they can all be part of like the main government force. Whereas if America had to do like proper representational, they would have to do away with all sorts of regional representation, which Americans would not be on board with.
This is true, because they want to give like a, 7 million square kilometer like literal rectangle in the middle of the country has to be, with like 6 people living in it, has to be fully represented.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Yeah, so in Canada, oh man, you should hear this. So Canada has had so we have 2 types of governments. We have majority governments, where one party just gets to be dictator for 4 years. And then we have minority governments, like we have right now, where everybody complains and we end up having an election about every 18 months. Because the Conservative Party has successfully been able to, for some reason, poison the concept of coalitions from our politics, where now like it's actually like considered politically like, oh, like it would be against the will of the people for us to form a coalition government, which results in you having to only vote for the two sometimes three parties that you're allowed to vote for. It's fun. It's super fun.
Super democratic. It's super free.
Yeah, we were like, what's it called? We have one party that's pushing for proportional representation, and because like the thing is, Canada's government is very undemocratic because it's still it's very much like the House, right? Like we have all our little, like I live in a district that has an MP who doesn't like BDS, and I don't like that. But either way, the main thing is that Canada sucks. It's a fake country, and
doesn't exist. It's an oil corporation pretending to be a country.
Yeah, exactly. And so like, it's always so neat to just hear like, oh yeah, I forgot that in Europe they just have like functioning countries.
Well, you say that, but then also Belgium is in Europe.
I mean, yes, but I mean Belgium is again a pretend country. Like Belgium is like Santa, where it's like Belgium is a thing that we tell children exists, to scare them into being good.
If you don't behave, Belgium is going to have. If you don't behave, Belgium might form a government.
Yeah, exactly. But like what's it called? Like your country, I think like I just saw a thing where like Sweden gets like 86% voter turnout because you have actually things to vote for. I think the only country that has like shitty voter turnout in Europe is like Switzerland for some reason. I don't exactly know why.
Oh, I know this because Switzerland has direct democracy and everything. So they have, but they still have like a parliament and stuff. But because they do direct democracy on basically everything anyway, the parliament doesn't do anything because the governance is down to the direct democracy anyway. So people see it like, well, why should we go and vote for a politician when that politician isn't really going, like, that vote doesn't matter because I'm just going to vote on everything that he votes on anyway.
So I guess like what's it called, when you get a nibble of like actual democracy, then you realize the representative democracy is not that useful. That makes sense.
Yeah. The only reason I'm like repping representational democracy here is because it's better than what America has and what Canada has and what the UK has.
Mm-hmm.
It is not better than direct democracy. The only thing that hasn't convinced me fully on direct democracy yet is the logistics of it on a larger scale. But I haven't read that much into it, if I'm honest.
It's true.
I should do that. I the more I do this stream, I realize that like, oh shit, I am so uninformed.
Yeah. What's it called? When I had Ollie on this stream a few years ago, he was just like, I loved this. I just want to mention, I just love this, by the way. But it was like he mentioned that this audience was possibly like they gave him like the hardest questions of any stream audience because like a lot of streams it's like, could God make a ball of weed so big that even he couldn't smoke it?
Yeah, which is great. Which is one of the reasons why I love coming to this show, and hanging out with you. Because
I always compare it to. Do you remember at the beginning of the search for the voyage home where Spock is going to Vulcan school and it's just being like interrogated by 3 computers at the exact same time?
Yeah. Is that what it's like?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, pretty much. You're not wrong.
So next question we got here is, it was funny because it was explicitly tagged not for, or it was tagged that it did not need to be read when Mia Mulder was a guest host, but the question is,
oh, I know this. I think.
What's it like being a Swedish trans woman? I'm just like, I don't know if I can answer that one.
The fucking question.
It has its ups and downs, I guess.
Good question.
In conclusion, Sweden is a land of contrasts.
God bless. No, I remember that. I had someone told me that they had trolled your question inbox. in a very cute little way.
I'm guessing, like, from what you've told me in the past, that like European turfiness is on the rise, and I don't know how much that's penetrated into Sweden.
Yeah, I mean, basically, you know how on Twitter you sometimes see like how British turf discourse is like bubbling up constantly.
Yeah, I mean,
Basically,
even in Americas,
basically all of that and like just postpone it 1 year and you get Swedish turf discourse.
I guess
It's
they,
like,
yeah,
yeah,
being pro Brexit then, because then what's it called, the trade, the free flow of trade, and so all of the British turf exports will be.
they'll have to pay with World Turf Organization rules,
Yep.
which are far less forgiving. But yeah, so it's okay. It's a bit like not much, like nothing is really happening in like Swedish trans discourse right now. It's everyone's just like dealing with COVID.
I'm trying to think of, like, if I'm trying to remember, like, what are the safer countries to be, or like what are like the safer and most, like, the best off countries to be a trans person in. And every time I see those lists, it's always like it's like usually like, yeah, Northern European countries, but then number one is always like Thailand, motherfuckers.
Is that Thailand or Malta? I hear Malta is like apparently really fucking good.
Yeah.
When it comes to like legislation, don't know how it's like socially or like culturally. But I remember from being an activist, like I kept seeing like ranking within Europe, and they would always be like Sweden would be like somewhere okay-ish, Denmark would be somewhere okay-ish, and then we had Malta, which was just like perfect. It's perfect here. Could be better with refugees, but otherwise it's perfect for LGBT people.
Yep.
It's like, what? Didn't see that one coming, but apparently the Maltese Riviera is the way to be. It's
Malta
the way to
vibes.
go.
That's why the most perfect LGBTQ candidate for president was Pete Buttigieg. So someone got a question: what is Kira Kintha's first law of metaphysics? And the answer is nothing unreal exists. It's a joke about the Spock computers.
Oh. It's been a long time since I saw.
Yeah, I have watched those in the recent months. So, and I have had comments about my ability. This is one of the weird things about the Tristan brain, is that I remember, I have like a fairly good memory for like random bullshit like that, and so I can just remember quotes from movies and shit. It's
I like
great.
to think that I remember it fairly well too, so I'm kind of disappointed with myself that I didn't get that. I guess I'm too much into new Next Generation right now.
We're watching that right now too. That's where we are on our Star Trek journey.
Beautiful.
Yeah, what's it called? We just did we were really emotional because of all the house stuff, and then we go to watch like relax with some comfort food Star Trek. Guess what episode we get? The one where like the 12-year-old's mom dies, and like they spend like the entire episode like meditating on it, and then the alien shows up pretending to be the mom.
Oh, that's oh my god, that's the roughest episode.
Yeah, like that's the episode that will like really like kill anybody. It's like one of the most emotional episodes of the show, and we're like, oh god.
It's that one along with the one where like a kid loses both his parents in some sort of attack or something, and he's like so traumatized by it that he processes it by pretending to be an android, like Data.
Oh yeah, that one.
That one's also like it hits hard.
Or the DS9 episode about PTSD. The one where Nog goes into like holodeck therapy, and he like has this like huge emotional breakdown as he realizes that he's like not able to process because he like lost a limb in the war, and he's like, god damn.
Yeah, he's like limping. He doesn't want to get it fixed properly.
Yo, if you don't watch Star Trek, you're really missing out.
Shit, especially like that era. That's really like the deepest cuts era of Star Trek. I feel like the mid-late seasons of Next Generation and basically all of Deep Space Nine is perfect.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Now I am hearing, I don't know about this. This is a I would say this is a slightly spicy take. But we are hearing rumors deep within the data that Voyager wasn't as bad as we thought it was. And that when we get into Voyager, that Kelly might actually really like it.
Okay. Sure. I like Voyager, personally. But I wouldn't say it's good.
Voyager,
like, as a show.
Voyager did suffer, does have the perception of being bad. Like, part of it is because it's written, like, sometimes it was like, have you written words before? But the second was, like, there was, like, you know, Trekkie fanboys from, like, the early 2000s being shitty.
Oh, for sure. Like, that's a big part of it. I think my main gripe with it is that it's like a bit tonally different from the rest of the Star Wars shows of the same era, which is interesting, and they do some interesting things with that. But at the same time, they do spend, like, they end up with, like, having negative 45 photon torpedoes.
Yeah, okay, there's that. Yeah.
They just keep printing shuttlecraft.
Yeah, that's
two characters. Oh, I hate this. Sorry, I'm ranting now. Two characters who have, like, a romantic arc throughout the entire fucking show. I don't remember their fucking names. They have, like, a will they won't they thing constantly. They start dating. They get engaged. And then they do get married, but they get married off screen. We never get to see the marriage.
Oh yeah, that is a.
They just show up one episode and they're married now. What? What kind of bullshit is this?
Oh man, there's so, like, the thing about my issue with Voyager is the same issue I had with Enterprise, or two main things. One, Rick Berman, but second is because every time Rick Berman touches something, it turns bad or weird.
It just becomes worse.
Yeah, but the second thing is that both of them were like, what if Star Trek, but we did, like, something a little different with it, and then didn't lean into it very much. Like, Voyager, as you kind of mentioned, Voyager has a few episodes where it, like, leans into the fact that they're in the middle of nowhere and there's no Federation or anything for them to do stuff with. Yeah. But for the most part, a lot of episodes just boil down to they go to a planet, they do a Star Trek, and then they keep moving and they move on. And Enterprise was like, I was hoping for a Star Trek show that was sort of like that Dog with the Chemistry set, where, like, none of them know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah.
But then like, again, by the end of the show, it kind of also turns into they show up at a planet, they do a Star Trek, and then they move on.
And, like, I feel Star Trek needs those sort of episodes, but Star Trek really shines when they take that and take it somewhere else. Like the what's it called? Darmok and Jalad.
Yeah, you need, like, those.
Like, Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra is very much like we go to a planet and do a Star Trek, but it's, like, really fucking good.
Yeah, there's also some good, like there was a surprisingly good season 1 episode of Enterprise that I thought went under the radar, where, you know how, like, all the Star Trek shows, they take for granted that they can just, like, scan the warp trail of something and follow it?
Yeah.
There's a whole episode where, like, the Star Trek that they do is that they actually learn how to do that for the first time. Like, they're like, oh, like we figured out that you can actually, like, follow a warp plasma thing, and you can, like... It was like, that's kind of clever.
Yeah. Like, there are many different things here, which is they all work.
But not enough Voyager episodes start with Data doing Shakespeare, or with the main cast playing poker, or, like...
God, there are a lot. I'm rewatching Next Generation right now. There are a lot of episodes where they play poker.
Yeah, they
like really... a lot of episodes where they play poker.
There's also now that I'm watching it as a grown-up, like, there's a hint that, like, Riker fucks, like, a lot.
Riker fucks so much. Oh my god.
He's always just, like, in 10-4 with some random ensign. And it's like, oh man, Riker, you fuck a lot.
He fucks constantly. There's one episode where Q, like, becomes mortal and then becomes Q again, and just gives Riker two hot women in bikinis, and he basically says, like, I don't need your fantasy women, very much implying, like, he can get his own.
He just
And despite all of this, he still makes his own fantasy women in the holodeck that he also fucks.
the Virgin Q versus the Chad Riker.
He fucks like an incredible amount.
Because they literally, like, every time they do a scene in 10 forward, and they have to have a Riker scene, it always starts with him just having a drink with like some woman from some like just like some woman who's there for that scene.
Yeah.
So
My God.
A character that really needed to get some love, because she was basically like a rom-com character who just showed up in Star Trek, was Ensign Sonia Gomez, who her first scene on the show is she spills hot chocolate on Picard because she took a hot chocolate into engineering.
Oh, classic. I don't remember that.
Yeah, because they didn't give her enough love. So now that okay, somehow that ended up with us getting more viewers.
Listen, people want to hear Star Trek.
It's true. It's coming back. What's it called? I like that Star Wars basically committed seppuku.
Yes.
And then Star Trek's just like, we're gonna come back, and it's just gonna be awesome. Yeah, we had the pronoun talk on Discovery too.
Oh yeah, they finally mentioned it. They finally did the pronoun thing. So Star Wars is dead at last, except for the Mandalorian, which is carrying the entire Star Wars universe on his back.
And Disney Plus.
And then we have just Star Trek, which is coming back somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Entirely. God, I'm so happy.
Yeah, Star Trek's being based as fuck right now.
I do like that they're being more explicit with it, though. Even if like complete morons on right-wing YouTube talking about like, oh, is Star Trek going woke?
Yeah.
Like Star Trek's always been this woke. Are you kidding me? They already did a non-binary episode in Next Generation where Riker also fucks.
I thought you were going to talk about the non-binars.
Oh yeah, that also happens.
But like, they also did like a really like adorable thing where like they're kind of setting up like this sort of like found family story between Hugh and Stamets and
yeah.
Can't even remember what that character's name is. Me
neither. I don't really know much of their names. Like I'm like I remember Burnham, and that's basically it.
There's
And
Hugh
Stamets.
and Stamets, which is like one person's first name, and it's Adira. Adira is the name of the non-binary character who's like a teenager.
Oh, there we go.
And yeah, that whole like trio, like about like how Stamets is like being like Papa gay to
yeah. It's very much like it's sort of, I feel like it's rediscovering its sort of own political roots a little bit. Like it's realizing that Star Trek is best when it's like looking into the camera and saying sexism is bad.
Yeah, and maybe I'm alone in this, but I am really, really digging the 31st century world building. Like I think a lot of the stuff they're doing with it is pretty cool.
Yeah,
I loved the Vulcan Romulan thing. That was cool.
Yeah, that was a nice callback to.
And then it was like going into the Star Trek tradition of an episode that's just a trial.
Classic. I love it.
Yeah, so it's going really. If you aren't watching it, or if like, I also had issues with it when it first came out, but like, man, it's really starting to like. What's it called? It grew its beard. Michael Burnham has a beard now, so the show has figured it out. I think it's going to be. It found its book. It found the cat. The cat and the spaceship basically saved the show.
Very much so.
Especially when the cat freaked out the Andorian last episode. So good, so good. So many like awesome moments in that show. Okay.
Okay.
Who do you think will win the battle for the GOP's soul? The neocons and the establishment, or QAnon crazies in the base? Are you worried Fox News is going
to down at the middle?
Oh yeah, they're probably going to tear each other apart over the next 4 years for sure.
Can't wait.
Yeah, this is what happens when you have what should be like at least 2 to 4 political parties crammed into one party.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that this is even happening. Usually, the GOP has a really good like party loyalty thing. The Democrats have a little bit of that, but there's obviously way more factionalism going on in the Democrats. Uh, but I think this like Trump refusing to concede, I think is going to be like one of the big points in like Republican soul searching coming up.
Yeah, aren't there like MAGA people who are saying don't vote in the Georgia runoffs?
Yes, and I love it. Because like the election's rigged anyway, right? So why vote? And you know, they're right, the election is rigged in Georgia, so why vote? It's no point.
It's true.
No point.
It's fact.
It's just facts, isn't it?
It's just so funny. Like, I don't know, like it's I love that they're gonna get a flavor. They're gonna like Republican factionalism is. I don't know how they're gonna handle it, because like when Republicans get mad at each other, I don't know what's gonna happen. Like people like when like the base that's the most mad is the kind that starts killing people when they get mad enough.
Yeah. And I you know, there's always some hope in the sort of traditional Republican Party about like tempering the more radical elements of their own party, like as they did with the Tea Partiers, and then that didn't go very well.
Yeah, it seems like though the Trump wing's not co-opting itself as much as like the Tea Partiers are.
Yeah, like this beast is something else entirely, because it's basically half of the entire Republican Party, if not more, considering how many like high-ranking Republicans are basically quiet about the current situation with Trump refusing to concede.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the neocon versus like fash based is more actually like the membership of the party versus the leadership of the party. Because the leadership of the party are all rich neocons, and they are having they have a base that is increasingly made up of fascists who want the party to be fascist but aren't acting that way. And it's like, oh, like how there's like a growing radical socialist movement in the Democratic Party, but it's all run by neocons. And so it's like, oh, interesting. The center cannot hold, and it's happening all over again.
I honestly feel like that if the Republicans like went a bit more centrist, they would probably win more elections. Like, and they already win a lot from like just voter suppression and shit. But
we'll see, because like that idea of like this kind of like an old idea of like politics is catering to the undecideds, but it seems like it's turning more into whether or not you can be inspiring enough to bring out your base.
Which is such an American thing, right? Because like in a country with high voter turnout, then you need to actually get people who are voting to vote for you. It's only in America where democracy is about like getting your own people to go voting.
To just vote in general.
Yeah, you're not really convincing anyone. You're trying to engage people, which happens in all political elections, but it's such an American thing where you don't actually have to convince anyone. You just have to like energize people, which is very undemocratic, I feel like. Or has the dangers of being, but America is barely democratic in the first place.
Oof. Yeah, America is gonna. What's it called? I kind of have been able. I've kind of been checked out a little bit in the last few weeks just because of house hunting and like, you know, trying to make videos and stuff. But yeah. I have. I'm like, I haven't thought too much about like, oh shit, next year we're gonna have to deal with the Biden presidency, and it's like, oh god, it's gonna be so bad. It's gonna be so bad in new ways. Like at least there's one thing. Like everything's gonna suck in different ways.
Yeah, but at last we can finally like complain about how shitty Biden is again.
It'll be fun. I'm okay. The next question. On Friday, I said that Bernie grew up poor, and I was thinking, but they were white people living in the U.S. right after World War II. Why couldn't his dad get a good job and buy an 8-bedroom house? Then I actually looked up Bernie's dad. Am I right in thinking the post-war boom wasn't so awesome if you were Jewish Polish immigrants? And the answer to that is no, it wasn't. Yeah, well, there's a lot of what's it called? There is a good amount of evidence. Like none of I don't think Bernie's family fought much in World War II. He's kind of that that awkward generation that my grandparents belonged to, where like they were slightly like they were too young to fight in World War II, but they were alive. But they were old enough to be alive during World War II.
Yeah.
It's sort of like Chomsky. Because all of the people who are old enough to actually have fought in World War II are basically dead now.
Yeah.
Or they're like 100 years old. Anyways, so the Bernie didn't get like any of like GI Bill type stuff. He did benefit from cheap education. That's why he is so much better off than his parents are. But yeah, even Bernie plays down. Like if you like really look into Bernie's backstory, like his parents were really fucking broke, and were basically and yeah, turns out to be Jewish immigrants from Poland. Not exactly the easiest thing to be anywhere.
Yeah. It doesn't present you with the best sort of life circumstances starting out, like immediately post World War II.
Mm-hmm. And if you think about a lot of people, like I gotta say, if you think about like the family support structure that a lot of people relied on, I recommend you look at any Jewish person's family tree, and look at how much of it is just like completely wiped out by World War II.
Yeah.
It's like
That's one of the things about like just being European in general, because like every European like knows someone or like knows of someone in the family who lost someone during the war, but then everyone just remembers like can't really compare to many like Jewish family trees.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't really work.
Yeah. Also for Roma people too.
Oh God. Yeah. Ugh.
That's a video that I really want to make sometime. I don't know if it'll do very well, but the Roma people had a Holocaust all of their own called the Holocaust, and there's because it's still okay to be racist against Roma people. Their story hasn't really been told as much.
And it's still okay to be racist. And so,
Yeah.
this is the thing that like really fucks me so much, because like there are like Romani people in Sweden, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the Swedish like genocide against Romani people just like ended sometime around like this in the 70s, and that's just when like forced sterilization stopped. Like the cops are still like destroying Romani like camps and settlements and shit, and harassing them for no reason in public transport. I swear to God, every Swede that I know knows a story about being on the subway in Stockholm and seeing the cops just beat the shit out of some Romani people for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like,
the story of European anti-Zionism has not been done a whole lot compared to anti-Semitism.
I need to make a video about. I have a video idea about white genocide, and maybe you can help me with this. I'm gonna do a trial test here, because Europe today is sort of considered to be white for some reason or another, especially by people who like talk about white genocide, but also people like from all over the political spectrum. Like, Europe is sort of seen as like the white continent, which first of all is super weird because white isn't really a thing.
Being invaded by anti-Western Muslims, which is like the most hilarious history thing of all the things.
Yeah, and secondly, like Europe used to be pretty fucking diverse.
Yup.
When it comes to like religions and ethnicities and all these things, but then the 1800s happened, which did some nasty shit, and then the Holocaust happened, which did even more nasty shit.
Yeah.
And because of all of these things, Europe is now way more homogenous than it used to be because of like centuries of genocide.
Don't forget like cultural genocide. Like you look at like things like the 1800 census of France, where less than 50% of people speak French, or
Yeah, there are like so many local languages and shit.
yeah, and like some countries like that were late to the game, like Spain. Spain still strains over the fact that it's 5, 6, 7 different ethnicities, just like forced under Castilian control
Mm-hmm.
because some people decided to get married once. Or the other thing, the diversity. You can go as far back as to say, hey, remember the Taifa kingdoms of Al-Andalus and how it was this place of religious tolerance and diversity and love, and like how Jews, Muslims, and Christians lived in the same country and like were on pretty good terms with each other, and then there was the Reconquista that undid that.
Yeah.
So there is something to that. It all comes back to that one you did of that person with the hat and the ghost thing. It's nationalism. Nationalism fucking killed so many people. It's like,
Yeah. So I'm thinking about making a follow up to nationalism, where I talk about that. Could be fun.
yeah,
Well, it could be horrifying, first of all, but
yeah.
my God.
All right, so in my last vid, I said that the white nationalists lost interest in electoral politics around 1980. Shouldn't you have added that? But they came back into electoral politics in 2016. And what I will say to that is, that series is young. There are still many pieces of it yet to be made. Don't worry, we'll get to 2016.
Oh God. That's a good series, though. It's blowing up.
It is. I'm taking a break from it because this company decided that they wanted me to make a video about Japan, and then I'm going to go back to it. So if anybody was like, man, I'd really like to buy a box of Japanese snacks, but I didn't have a promo code to get 10% off your first order, hold on next week.
Damn, that's a good deal. Damn.
Yeah. Okay. Can you grant Medicare for all by executive order? Some leftists have been claiming you can recently.
I don't think you can.
I think you could, but what you would be setting up would be extremely fragile. I think that I think what leftists are trying to make the organization, like you could order the Medicare system to open up for everybody. You could do that. The problem is that it's not legislation, and if we learn anything like about Roe v. Wade, is that if it's not a law, it's very fragile. What I think leftists are banking on is if they did a Medicare for all by executive order, that it would get so popular that it would almost be impossible to try and write out of the law. But I don't know. I have a feeling that there's a lot of hurdles to building the infrastructure like that might. I don't know if an executive order could really cut it. Because executive orders are sort of limited by the purse strings, which Congress and stuff like that. So,
yeah, you can't really do that much. So unless the Senate flips to the Democrats.
Okay, this makes sense. The idea is that you use like the pandemic as an emergency measure to give everybody health care, and then it becomes so popular because, health people like getting health care, and then after the pandemic's over, you can like, what if we did more of this?
People are going to demand it to stay.
It's basically how the entire welfare state was set up after World War II, because everyone was like, man, I really like when the government does things. What if the government did more things?
pretty much.
Or just like Sweden.
True. America hasn't had the moment like that. That's why it doesn't have healthcare. Shit, that's true. This could be America's welfare state moment.
Or Sweden just did a bunch of things, and then they were doing really well, and then everyone was behind Sweden going like writing, copying the notes. Healthcare. Interesting.
Healthcare.
Pros, I like the idea of healthcare and a strong welfare state. Don't exactly like the idea of covering fish in lye and burying it in the backyard, but I think that we can get one without the other.
Maybe. I'm not super sure. You'll best take all of it just in case.
It's like, what's it called? We are implementing a full, strong social safety net. There's going to be disability benefits, a strong and robust pension system, and pickled herring for all.
Pickled herring for all. Hang on. No, that has to be part of it. We have to make sacrifices.
I was pickled herring. I was like, oh no, is that secretly like a Norway thing or something?
No. Well, it's not pickled. It's just fermented.
Yeah.
Which is far worse than pickled herring.
You have to have healthcare in a country that has surströmming, and so if you can export surströmming to the world, then they'll have to have healthcare because you'd have to have healthcare. Surströmming is like one of those things where it's like it has to be illegal in America. If Kinder Surprises and haggis are illegal, then surströmming's gotta be.
I don't think it's illegal in general, but it's definitely illegal to carry on a plane.
Oh god, yeah, that shit goes off in a plane. You have to like buy a new plane.
Yeah, partially that, but also because it's like the can is pressurized. It's built like a German Jerry fuel can. It's like it's built to expand from the gases of its own fermentation, and they can explode, especially in like pressurized environments, like a plane. And if a can of surströmming explodes, like there's no coming down from that.
Yeah, the plane, like what's it called? You just have to like buy a new airplane.
I feel like you would. I feel like somehow the smell would like go into the trail of the plane.
Oh god!
Like spread over America.
Oh no!
Like all over like Atlanta, it would just be covered in a fine mist of fermented herring.
God damn. You know, why is it that every time I hear about like Scandinavian food, it's just like the grossest shit? Like, is there something good and normal that Scandinavians eat that's not just like, hey, what if we took like, I don't know, puffins hearts and ate that?
I was gonna say banana and curry on pizza because we eat that too.
I could be down for banana and curry on pizza.
No, wait, no, I fucked up. It's banana, chicken in some sort of casserole.
Okay, I can roll with
that.
that.
I don't know what I'm not super sure what it is. It's something like that.
Oh yeah. What's it called? Tell them about Icelandic fermented piss shark. Oh yeah. Because Iceland was like, what if we made Scandinavian food even more Scandinavian?
Just the most Scandinavian. Obviously, it comes from the Icelandics.
Wouldn't you like to eat a sheep's head that has been boiled?
Oh, we do that.
Okay.
No, I've done that. It's from the very specific island of Gotland. They do that a lot.
Banana, pineapple, curry, and peanuts on pizza? I'm down.
It's delicious. It's not. I hate it.
I heard someone said pork with onion sauce is like the national Danish dish. That's extremely normal.
Yeah, that's not that weird.
Also, meatballs with mushroom soup and stuff. Like, what if meatballs in soup? That's pretty normal.
Meatballs in soup.
Okay. When an oppressed group are offended by something, when an oppressed group are offended by something someone in a more privileged group did/said, is it ever okay to tell them they're wrong to feel that way or that their concerns are invalid? Like some Native Americans claim they were offended by Warren claiming to be a member of a Native American tribe, even though she never actually did. Is it okay to tell those people they're just wrong?
Well, I mean, if they're factually wrong, like, yeah. Like for example, if trans people were offended by, I don't know, Joe Biden claiming that trans people come from the moon or something, like, you know, he hasn't done that, so...
Well, that would be true.
Well, okay. Well, you know what I mean, like, if
we don't talk about the moon issue.
We don't talk about
we covered that at the secret BreadTube Elite meetings.
Where we all conspire against the one other YouTuber who never stops posting. But
what's it called? Caleb Mopen is now on the BreadTube Elite grift.
Who?
Caleb Mopin, who is a Nazbol, who is the Burger King guy. He's basically like a crypto-fash guy who pretends to be a Marxist.
Oh, yeah. I got that from the Nazbol.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will say, though, you don't have to say that you're part of something to, like, the thing is, like, I think a lot of the complaints, specifically about Elizabeth Warren, are not that, like, she went around claiming she's Native American. What she did do was, like, apply to law school claiming she was Native American and did stuff like her and her completely 100% white husband submitting recipes to a book called Pow Wow Chow that, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so even, I feel like that's probably why people are upset about that situation. Obviously, things can become misconstrued, and I think it's always okay to sort of correct your own upset into more factually correct points. But if it's coming from a valid point, then we can't criticize that.
Yeah,
but
like I think
time,
a lot of
if something is 100% factually incorrect, then
yeah,
that's a different thing.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. Yeah, the Elizabeth Warren situation is a bit more complex than, like, she did never say that she was a member of the Cherokee Nation. This is true. She did apply to law school claiming that she was Cherokee, in which her school, one school that she got a job at, did brag that by hiring her, she was the first Native American law professor at their school. Like, there's a bit more to it than that. And it also gets into, like, the weird complex stuff about, like, blood quantum, in that, like, white people see membership in a nation as different than indigenous people do, and it's a lot. There's just a lot more. Someone said Nazbol, like the evil spirits from the Lord of the Rings, and the answer to that is yes.
Yes, it's very true. There are 6 of them, and they are all very annoying and scary on the internet.
Mm-hmm. And they'll all be defeated by Eowyn, but that's a different time.
Yeah.
The Witch King. I don't know who is the Witch King of the Nazbols, but
is the Witch King one of the Nazbols?
Yeah, it's leader of the Nazbols.
Really interesting. The Witch King of
Angmar.
Angmar. I was trying to come up with a name for that.
I'm not like
the Witch King of Düsseldorf.
Oh God. Yeah, I don't actually the Nazbol rug. Okay. This is getting very silly.
Yes.
Okay. What's the average life expectancy of a fascist regime? Ooh.
The average one?
Yeah, as I'd say, the oldest one I think would probably be Spain. Spain was fascist from like 39 to 70 something.
Yeah.
But
and managed to have one leader properly. It would just be the lifespan of their leader, right?
And also depends upon how much you want to stretch your definition of fascist too, because, like, do you consider the Meiji period fascist, even though it was like a process of Japan becoming nationalistic and militaristic, but only really, like, exploded into warfare in, like, a few wars, but I don't know. It's again comes down to the problem of we don't really have a good box that we can draw around what fascism is and isn't anymore.
Yeah. Ned Carlson says we have to measure the median because Spain is fucking up the average.
It's true.
Spain, the average lifespan of a fascist nation is only actually 5 years. There was an outlier to the statistic, and it was Spider Spain, who lives in a cave and eats 87 fascist sticks a day.
Oh God.
That's a very niche.
Mm-hmm. But at the core, we can say that fascist regimes are fairly self-destructive. and they
Yes,
do burn themselves out.
they burned themselves. They burned themselves so fast. Has there ever been like a successful transfer of power for like more than one or two generations of fascist leaders? Like it is a fascist leader and like their heir, and then it just goes on, and then it's
Yeah. Yeah, fascist regimes tend to be focused around a cult personality around a single person. It's
yeah.
true.
And then when that person is gone, it doesn't really work anymore. Like the second Franco died, that was basically like, well,
Someone
it's
said,
not, this is
aren't treaties for Native Americans based around blood quantity for defining who they are? Yes, but the problem is that's not how a lot of indigenous nations identify that. And the problem is that that's like a thing that was imposed on them by white people, and it completely disregards the way that they see like membership and things like and kinship and things like that.
yeah.
Does ancient Rome count as fascism?
No.
No. That's stretching it to the point where it loses its meaning.
Yeah, it's the political systems of like ancient Rome of the ancient world generally can't be like neatly mapped onto the political spectrum of today. Instead, and like fascism, you can barely define things as being fascist today, and we're like less than 100 years from its like proper inception.
Yeah.
So it doesn't. It's really hard to sort of like define old systems that work entirely different from our own in terms of fascism, because fascism is some very vague things, but those vague things don't even exist in Rome.
Yeah, it's sort of like fascism needs like the sort of racism birthed by colonization, and also like I always think of like fascism as like the last phase of nationalists, as the nationalists like nationalism as like this process that started in the 1800s that moved into like becoming more encompassing, and the idea that all of the people within a territory have to be like they have to be the same person, they have to have the same identity. That's what sort of leads to fascism, and like you can't really have fascism without that idea that like this is the nation of this where these people live, and then it gets into like and then also the very colonial things of like concentration camps and genocide and like expansionistic like I don't know, like I feel like it was fascism is sort of like the natural consequences of the high watermark of colonization and nationalism together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because otherwise you're just going to call every militaristic empire a fascist, or every dictatorship fascist, which is sort of misses the point about what made specifically like what happened in like Italy and Germany so dangerous for what it was.
Yeah, exactly. It's an excellent point. Excellent, succinct summary of the situation.
Because the situation now, this is why like the situation now is so scary, is because it's this like militaristic authoritarian empire, but it is being motivated by a desire to homogenize the nation state and create like a unified nation of people that all look the same. Like that's like kind of like that's why like what's going on in like Poland and Hungary and America is so scary. Like that's why like things like the anti-refugee backlash that happened about like what 5-6 years ago now. I guess it's still happening, but like it was at its peak. It had its peak in like maybe like 2015 or so. But that's why that was so scary, and that's why if you notice that like a lot of fascists came out of the woodwork in that moment. And America, with its perceived issue of illegal immigrants moving across the border, which is actually like has been at a net negative for like 20 years now.
Yes.
Is this is the kind of things that come up. All right, let's do a more. Oh no, next question is about fascism too. So it recently occurred to me that eco-fascist regimes might take over most Western countries when climate change gets really bad. Yup. In the end, those regimes will utterly fall and collapse, and the survivors can maybe build a socialist society afterwards. How do you feel about getting to socialism that way? A majority of the human race die, but who are left get to do luxury communism on the remaining land. I don't like that one bit.
I don't like people dying.
Yeah, I'd rather. I would not think. I would not. There's a lot of uncomfortable things that come through. You have to do an eco-fascism in order to get communism. Like, no, we could also like. I feel like that is not a thing we should be aspiring to do.
Death bad.
Yeah, death is bad.
Fascism bad also.
Do you think
Death
Harris?
bad.
Yeah, death is bad. Do you think Harris will run on Medicare for all in 2024?
No.
Nope. It might be called Medicare for all, but it won't be Medicare for all.
It won't be Medicare for all. It won't be Medicare if you earn between something money and you have invested in the inner city fund for specifically middle-aged trans women grocery store businesses. And if you've done that, you can get free healthcare. And the free healthcare is you get a voucher that you can only turn into the hospital if you turn up with one of the 17 conditions where it applies.
Precisely.
Exactly. So you can get free healthcare, but you won't.
See, there's a thing specifically about Kamala Harris's career that is important to mention, which is that she started her career, like, it sounds like she started with a very noble activist idea, but it's very apparent that the closer that she gets to more and more actual power, the more that she compromises her values or what she went into politics to do, because she's obviously a power addict. That's what I'm learning. Power is an extremely addictive drug, one that nobody should ever get addicted to. True. And she's getting really, really bad at it. Like now she's one of the most powerful people in the world, but like the thing is, like, a few years ago she was like the most progressive senator or whatever, and was a co-signer of the Medicare for All bill. And now that she's vice president, will like probably veto it. Like, so this happens a lot when people get power. This is like a thing that happens when people become politicians.
Mm-hmm.
And so the longer, I feel like Kamala Harris's career is going to continue to drift more and more into neoliberalism and far right or not far right, but like right wing politics for the rest of her career, which we will never see the end of, because if she doesn't get to be president in 2024, she'll be running for president forever. Just like we'll never stop seeing Pete Buttigieg. The man has no sense of shame, and so we will just be seeing Mayor Pete run for president. Now he has a podcast too.
Oh no.
Yeah.
So when is Buttigieg tube starting up, and when are we all migrating there? Because that's where all the money is.
Yeah, for
Bloomberg tube.
Although he might have died because there was that story about that CIA agent who was murdered who died in Somalia, and everyone was like, "Wait, why is there a CIA agent in Somalia?"
Is that Pete Buttigieg? Is that what you're saying?
Well, because Pete Buttigieg did go on a one-day vacation to Somalia where he happened to talk to the country's president. It was a vacation with one of his friends. You know, and that while he took a vacation from his time when he was just being a normal, everyday driver in Afghanistan in the military.
Mm-hmm.
Before instantly there's definitely, like, Pete Buttigieg definitely not a member of the CIA.
Definitely not a member of the CIA.
He just went
Do
on
you
a
think
90-hour vacation to Somalia to talk to the president.
you do? Like, haven't you ever gone to a 90-hour vacation to talk to the president of Somalia?
Yeah,
I go on a 90-hour vacation to Somalia and talk to the president every week.
that's those cheap flights in Europe.
It's COVID. It's life free, basically.
Yeah. All right.
I'm sorry. I'm like, I love doing this. I am like a bit tired, and I'm gonna do it until the end of it. But I can tell that like my like laugh and joke sense has like been activated. It's like it is Monday. I am sleepy.
Oh boy.
It is time to laugh about 90-hour flights and talk to the Somalian president.
It's all good. The next question is, why do many British socialists, not even sock dems, like Princess Diana? It seems the team at Novara Media like her.
Really? Novara Media even?
Yeah.
Because Diana was seen as sort of like was seen as, I want to point this out heavily, was seen as like a commoner sort of taking in normal life into the aristocracy, into the monarchy specifically, actually, and who by that action, by like wanting to be normal, wanting to be a normal human being, almost brought down the entire monarchy. And I can see where people like that.
Yeah.
You know, where like people like you know, this person being normal, getting into the monarchy, and then all accidentally almost destroying it by just being themselves. I should say though that it is a facade, because Diana is also from the aristocracy.
Yeah, she was a lesser aristocrat, but yeah, still.
Yeah, I think people always forget that like the British aristocracy is huge. There are tons of people in it, and who aren't from the Windsor family, who are from other families, and I have no idea what family Diana was from. So the idea that she comes from like a common family and has a normal life is complete bullshit.
Yeah. The other thing too is that she did use like all of the celebrity and power of her station to do some good things. Like she was really big into like helping children. And the thing that like made her like really big and that got her like in a lot of fucking trouble is that she shook hands with people who had AIDS, which like
without a glove too, like during the AIDS crisis.
Yeah, and that kind of that earns you some points, because humanizing people who had AIDS during the middle of the crisis was real. Like that was like a real rough time.
She also like walked through a minefield. Like for someone who was involved with like the monarchy, she was very like political, which was something that the monarchy isn't supposed to do. So like as sort of as a celebrity, she did a lot of good. Yeah. She was probably a really good person.
Yeah, and on that AIDS crisis thing, I'm just remembering like, okay, so I just want to get, because I know that you were more involved in like official LGBTQ plus activist space.
Yes.
So I'm sure you know more about this. That like you talk to anybody in that community who's like older than like 50, and like almost like tons and tons and tons of people that they were like friends with or that they were in relationships with when they were young were dead.
Yeah.
Like there's a reason why there's not like a ton of very old gay people anymore, and it's really sad. Like there's so many there's a lot, like it's something that doesn't get talked about a whole lot, but
no, like that's the thing. Like there's that's the reason why like a lot of LGBT discourse now is done by people who are like 20, 30, maybe 40. Because anyone that's old, like most people who are older than that, are fucking dead. But and this has sort of led to the myth that that like LGBT things is like a bit new phenomenon that like, you know, it existed before, but it like really exploded in the 90s. Which isn't true, because that's just when like LGBT people start surviving more.
Yeah, that's just when
Um,
AZT just let them survive, or let yeah, like, oh man, like the effect of the AIDS crisis on like on especially yeah, I'm just repeating myself.
yeah, no,
I,
but like that's a big thing about it, and for a long time, no one even knew what AIDS was. So Diana, like touching someone who was sick with AIDS without a glove, uh, was huge. Fuck, I remember going to school and like people telling us about AIDS and having to like be very like trying to stamp out all the myths about it, being like, you can hug someone, it's okay. You can be in the same room with them. You can breathe the same air.
just don't swap blood. Like it's fine.
Fine.
Oh man, yeah. I did an AIDS crisis video back in 2018, and every December it comes to mind. I'm like, oh, like, because the people I talk to about that, like I talk to a lot of like AIDS charities and stuff like that to see if I could get, and I was like, oh yeah. And I was like, anybody who has personal experience of it, like who is older than a certain age, it's just like, oh god, everybody's dead. It's so.
Yeah.
And yeah, it does lead to that false idea, like the idea that trans people just started existing like 6 years ago or something like that. It's like,
No.
okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was a really weird divergence.
No, it's good. We're talking history, and that's. I mean, we spent half an hour talking about Star Trek, so this is more on point than what we usually.
That's true. All right, so a while back I asked how history would have played out differently if the Americas were uninhabited when Europeans got there. Do you think the human race would be significantly less technologically advanced today without the contribution of Native Americans? Well, it really depends upon your definition of advanced. There are some things that, like, are certainly from indigenous technological developments, but they're hard to quantify because when a lot of them were either adopted by Westerners who then claim that they invented them, or they were just sort of not or like they were discovered later, even though like they'd been discovered by people like ages ago. Like for example, indigenous Americans discovered aspirin because like that was a thing that they used for fevers and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
They made a huge difference in the development of of shoes, what's it called, guerrilla warfare.
I'm thinking like crop development primarily.
The problem is that we don't use a lot of the developments they made, and that's why we suffer.
No, but
Yeah,
I mean like, but I mean I'm just thinking like the cultivation of like potatoes.
yeah, and corn.
In corn, like if those hadn't been cultivated at all, we wouldn't really use those crops today.
And without things like potatoes
Europe
and corn,
like Europe would probably be very different in terms of like food security wise.
well, yeah, because like potatoes and for example are linked explicitly to a huge population explosion in Europe.
Yeah, exactly, and that wouldn't happen. We would probably be significantly less technologically developed without Native Americans.
Yeah. So there's
how long was the potato cultivated for? Like, because I don't think we would have been able to do that very quickly. That's like something that takes thousands and thousands of years.
yeah, at least a few centuries.
Yeah, exactly. Like at least. I don't know enough about like Native American history and other like technological and technique developments, but I'll.
But like, some of the key, and also like slash and burn, agriculture, and also there's the fact that this is another thing that comes up is that if it wasn't for instruction on how to grow these crops and how to manage certain things, a lot of those early European colonies would have just died.
Oh, for sure. Like colonization would have taken so much longer of the Americas if not.
Yeah, because like there's like the reason why the story of the first Thanksgiving happened is because the indigenous people gave them food because they couldn't figure out how to make food in their society. Uh, so like they would have just starved. And yeah, and they also probably So the whole thing, but yeah, there's a whole lot of things that would have slowed it down.
Yeah.
And
Basically, Native Americans are integral to the entire history of the world, to the Americas, and after the Columbian Exchange, the world.
Yeah. All right. Have you heard about the novel World War?
Maybe you've mentioned it on here and on my reading list.
It's an alternate history novel where aliens invade during World War II.
Yes, that's the one. That it's been on the top of my reading list literally for like a year.
Well,
but yes, I've heard. What about it? Is it getting a movie? Is it getting a TV show?
I doubt it because it's not a very good book. But all right. In World War, there's a bit where one of the lizards asks a Polish Jew why he thinks nuking Washington is so different from nuking Berlin. The guy basically says something like, because America is the leading beacon of democracy on earth, or something similar. Did the U.S. have a better had a better international reputation in the 1940s? Because I know that no Polish Jews, if there are any left, would say that today. Yes, America had a quite good reputation in the 40s. A lot of its bad reputation comes from things it did after World War II.
But yeah, it was very much seen as like a land of freedom and opportunity, right?
Yeah,
like
that's why like Polish Jews like Fievel went to America to start a new life.
I don't know. Is Fievel?
It was a movie called called An American Tale, which is about a group of Jewish mice that escape pogroms to go to New York. There are no cats in America.
See, I knew that, but on the off chance that I was wrong, I didn't want to say, is Fievel a mouse from an animated movie? Because if I was wrong, that would have been extremely insensitive. Like in case Fievel was an actual historical character.
No, there's a lot of there's a lot of media in America about explicitly like Jewish refugees leaving the pogroms in Russia and going to, which like at the time, well, not in the 40s, but Poland. There's a lot of people who like left the pogroms in Russia, but they lived in Poland because it was Russia at the time. But yeah, so there was definitely a reputation.
And especially since most of Europe was like...
You don't think
like
the world...
semi-absolute monarchies in some form or another during that time, or like had recently been. Like the Austro-Hungarian Empire is still like in living memory, as is the German Empire. French democracy in that period, no one fucking knows how that worked. So it would either be the British, but the British had an empire which everyone disliked. So yeah, the America would probably be seen as like the bastion of democracy.
And there were incidents like when Iran tried to make a stand against like great game politics and tried to fight influence from both Russia and Britain, that America was a country that stepped in to be like, hey, hands off of Iran, which is kind of ironic today. But you don't think World War would be a good Netflix or HBO show? No, because the book is awful. It's
Have you seen what they're making into adaptations these days? Have you seen?
I guess, but like...
People would eat this shit up, Tristan, and you know it.
I mean, yeah, but then, like, how do you discuss when they're going to do the season finale where Churchill, Stalin, and Hitler decide to put aside their differences to fight the alien threat?
No, but see, the people who the people who wanted to make the Confederacy alternate history TV show, they just put them on
God.
the game. They can do that sensitively and explore some political depth in that nugget.
Yeah, I want the TV show where they nuance Hitler.
Those already exist, and they're called all of the Hitler documentaries that they do.
That's true. I don't know. Like I just like I
They
don't
made
want
them
like
kind of
because like
high
the show spends a significant amount of like first of all the book was a mess because it has like 20 POV characters.
Oh, that's too much.
It spends over 100 pages just giving each of the POV characters an introductory chapter.
Oh, fuck off.
Including one that is like an American second tier like professional baseball player. Yeah, what's it called? Harry Turtledove's books are one of those things that Harry Turtledove's one of those authors where his books sound like they're a lot better than they are. Like a lot of alternate history fiction, honestly, is that they sound like good stories, but then you realize that they're just kind of telling a setting, and they forgot that there's like, oops, what plot, character development, an emotional core. What are these things? I was trying to write a Wikipedia article that turned into a novel.
Christ.
What's
the other book where like a town in West Virginia or something is transported into the middle of Germany during the 30 Years' War or something? What's that book?
Which one? Oh, Fatherland?
No, I don't think. Is that the name? It's called. I think it's called like 16 something. Alt history. 1632. Yes. Have you heard about this one?
Which one's this?
1632. It's where it's from Eric Flint.
And
It's also an alternate history. It's also an alternate history thing where a modern day town, like from 2000, is transported to the Holy Roman Empire in 1632, along with like modern day technology and everything. I guess
and it tells like I've seen it because it's just like it's like like somebody just did a whole bunch of gift subscriptions.
Oh shit.
Yeah, thank you Octopus for giving five subscriptions. You freaking, oh man, that's awesome. Thank you so much. Octopus is a fucking mensch. This baller. I've only seen the covers of those, and the covers are kind of hilarious. So I'm intrigued because it's always just like, yeah, it's like World War II battleship at fighting like a what's it called, like a British ship of the line type thing. And it's like a lot of like it's like naval military writing stuff, right?
Yeah. Also, you got a super dono. A lot of cash money.
Oh, I like cash money. Hey, thank you, King John Targaryen the First. Thank you for the super chat. PKD, Philip K. Dick had a lot of good anti-cop stories, not gonna lie. Flow My Tears, Minority Report, Scanner Darkly. It's almost as if Dick was like, man, we're gonna have a police state in the U.S. Yeah, Philip K. Dick has really good ideas in his books. They're just really, like, he's another author where I really like what he's writing about. I like his positions, and I like the ideas that he explores. But I always find myself reading his books and just being like, wait a minute. What am I reading? Like, what's happening? I don't understand. Like, it was very hard to follow, which is fine. It's just sort of his writing style settles on my brain worms incorrectly in a ways that, like for example, I tried to read The Man in the High Castle, and that was a bit of an awkward experience because, like, yeah, again, even Philip K. Dick can't fall into the sweet trap that is like a pitcher plant that just tempts you with like, ooh, this is an interesting idea for a story. You should tell it, and then it's just like, oh no, I forgot to tell a story. It's all lore. No.
Someone in chat also said the only alternate history fiction with no like lore focus is Wolfenstein.
Yeah, Wolfenstein is the only good alternate history.
And Red Alert.
Red Alert, yeah, Red Alert is all story, no lore. In fact, I think the fact is like Red Alert. The best thing about Red Alert is that they made the first two and then they took a break before making the third one, and people took it way too seriously and were like really into like hardcore Red Alert lore, and so even though the fact that like the second one had Tim Curry saying that there's no capitalism in space. Like
the third one.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Red Alert takes itself not seriously at all, and that's why it's great. Especially the part where they get fucking George Takei to play the fucking Japanese emperor
of Japan, yeah.
who you fight in a mech at one point.
In a big samurai mech that invades the U.S., I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fuck that.
And then you had Tim Curry just being like, "There's no capitalism in space."
I'm going to the one place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism. Spain. And he's like laughing as he says it because he can't restrain himself.
Or Yuri.
Fuck, Yuri is good in the second game.
Oh no, brother. It has just begun.
Mind controlling the nuclear operators of the U.S. so they blow up their own nukes.
Oh yeah. So Red Alert. So yeah, Red Alert and Wolfenstein, the two good video games, the two good alternate histories. And also, yeah, Wolfenstein ends with you fighting Robo Hitler, the first one. So, although I have heard that like they did like the grimdark reboot of Wolfenstein. I haven't played any of the new ones. Like I've only ever played the ones from the 90s, but I've heard that the new ones have like an actual story, like an actual good story.
Yeah, they have good lore.
I've heard there's like an entire.
They don't have a lot of lore, but they have lore and it's good.
Yeah, I heard there's like an entire part where like you're like there's like part of it is you're playing like the American resistance against the Nazi occupation of America, and there's like a part where you have to like make an alliance with the Black Panthers who have also turned into like and they this woman like chews out the main character for basically being like you think that like what's it called? You think we give a shit about helping you guys take back America when you treated us like shit for like centuries? Like
yeah.
And I was like,
a really good line in the game right before that where you talk to Jimi Hendrix, not a joke, and the main character is like this big, like he's like white with Polish heritage guy, but like he's very brawny, he's very like he's very much mistaken for being like the peak Aryan by like like Nazis and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And you know he's very much like the man. And Jimi Hendrix is like he represents the man very much in terms of like you wanna save the world and get back America. When like before the war, fuck man, you were the Nazis.
Yeah,
and it's like that's a really like good hit where it's like, oh shit. Like they're not holding back here. They're like making commentary about like genocide and fascism isn't just something that the Nazis did. And isn't the person who like was in charge, like the director of the game or something like that, he was like his whole thing is like, I fucking hate Nazis. Like, fucking hate Nazis.
The game is about killing Nazis because like that's what you should do with Nazis. Like you should just like I fucking hate Nazis and want them to die. And it's like this guy
that's
rules.
all you do in the game. It rules. You can have 2 automated shotguns and you just blast through Nazis left and right. It's beautiful.
So
and as Sir Loinifus or whatever how you pronounce it.
Sirloin of Ice.
Sirloin of Ice. After that, the main character and Jimi Hendrix do acids.
That's fucking rules. Okay.
That's in a Wolfenstein game where you kill Nazis. It's a good story, good lore, and it's just good fun.
So what I'm learning is that the best alternate history story is Wolfenstein.
I played the New Order. I did a playthrough of the New Order like on my own free time last month, and it kicked ass. You fight Nazis on the moon.
Yep, that's the best alternate history. Because I don't know. It sounds like there's characters that have stories attached to them. That's pretty fun.
Yeah.
It'd be cool if more things did that. If more alternate history fiction did that. Um,
Kicks so much ass.
yeah. I hope Matt Mitrovich isn't watching, because I know that he watches these streams and he like literally is like a reviewer of alternate history novels for like Sea Lion Press or something. But like,
Then again, Wolfenstein would be a pretty bad novel because half of it would just be like, and then B.J. Blazkowicz shoots the Nazi.
yeah. And then yeah, Red Alert, the other good history, alternate history.
Yes.
So now you've learned. You have your full reading list, which is two video games from the 90s.
Beautiful.
And did you know, apparently that woman who chews that guy out in that thing was, oh yeah, there's also Rodham, which I said for some reason that I was going to read and review for a Tristan Won't Shut Up video, which is an alternate history in which Hillary Clinton doesn't marry Bill Clinton and goes into politics on her own and most definitely becomes president.
So when is the miniseries coming out on TV again? Because they're making a show. They're making it into a thing.
They're making Rodham? Oh yeah, for like, I think it was like Hulu that basically just bought Hillary Clinton content.
Wait, is it out already?
I don't think it's out, no. But I think
According
Hulu's the one.
to IMDb, it's already out.
What?
It may have been so insignificant that no one watched it.
I also have to review, I have Zabiba and the King, which is the romance novel written by Saddam Hussein that I still have. I said I was going to read it on a stream. I was going to do like a 24-hour stream where I was going to, what's it called? I'm going to do one of those things where a content creator gives himself sleep deprivation to raise money for a good cause.
Oh, great. We're both planning to do one of those.
I don't know when mine's going to be. I'm not going to step on anyone's toes, but I need to get a thing to raise money for is the most part. And then I have to be like, oh, I'm going to stay up for 3 days and read a romance novel written by Saddam Hussein.
Why do you have these things that you want to read so bad? Then again, I have a thing. I remember wanting to read something from Gaddafi because apparently Gaddafi wrote also some weird stuff.
He wrote science fiction, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I want to read Gaddafi's science fiction.
I mean, say what you want about Muammar Gaddafi. He had like, well, that's a weird way to start a sentence.
You gotta hand it to, and then the stream just cuts out.
There's like a whole thing about like Gaddafi that because he was set up as a supervillain in the America Rogues Gallery, he doesn't get the credit for a lot of work that he did for Pan-African Union. Like the African Union was like, he was like one of the major players in setting that up and getting that going. And he definitely, like, a lot of his like really wacky politics comes from the fact that he had this idea of like kind of like a African third wayism of like Africa going its own way and not being subject to American or Soviet imperialism, etc., etc. So like, I mean, the guy was also a brutal dictator who murdered his own people, and there's a reason why when he was taken out of power, he was like gunned down by his own people. Just that he had ideas that should not be taken away. He was sort of like he sort of like picked up the torch from like Nasser, of like Pan-Arabism and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Which like you can also say quite a few things about Nasser.
You can say a lot of things about Nasser. I need to read up more about Nasser though.
Dude was a fucking Chad. Dude was like, okay, Britain, Israel, and France are invading at the same time. Whatever, motherfuckers, bring it on.
Bring it.
He was like what's it called? He was like the ultimate of, I mean, as someone who's from a fellow third world country, Mia, Nasser was pretty good at like the let's play the Americans and Soviets off of each other to get me free shit.
Yeah. Which is very much
it's a Chad move.
Chad move. That's how you do the Cold War. You play both sides and get everything.
I'm gonna my thing about History's Greatest Chad is gonna turn into a series, isn't it? I gotta do John Brown and Nasser and well, Nasser's much more of a complex figure because John Brown did literally nothing wrong, but
So I'm just. Oh, John Brown, that guy.
yeah.
Oh, of course. Of course, I know that guy. I also love his Wikipedia inscription that just came up. An intensely religious man, Brown believed he was raised up by God to strike the death blow to American slavery.
Yeah,
In a very literal way, I guess.
Yeah, he was very much okay. So he was a Chad in multiple ways. First, he got his start in Kansas by just murdering pro-slavery people.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but he never got caught there because Kansas didn't have much of a government at that time. But then, what he eventually got caught doing was trying to rob an armory so that he could arm a bunch of Virginia slaves to lead an uprising against the government, in which he was arrested and he was executed. And he basically is the person who said that, like, this his final words were like, oh, let me find his final words because they were quite intense. But also, he had like 11 children and he died when he was like 30. So he's also a person who what's it called? He also fucks.
The Riker of abolitionism.
Yeah.
Apparently, he was friends with Victor Hugo, the guy who wrote Les Mis.
All right, yeah, here's his last words. I, John Brown, am now quite certain that the crimes of this guilty land can never be purged away but with blood. And he was executed 1 year before the American Civil War.
Yeah.
Like, oh man. Okay, it is 2:00. Please tell everybody where they can consume Mia content while we go and send a raiding party to pillage Lumiru.
Hell yeah. You can consume Mia content at miamulder.com, which will take you to my YouTube channel. Or you can go to twitter.com/potatopolitics or twitch.tv/miamulder. Or if you have a Nebula account for some reason, which apparently a lot of people do, you can go to watchnebula.com/miamulder. Please watch my latest video. It's doing very well, but I would like it to do even better because I too would like to have 250,000 subscribers.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see how that goes.
Alrighty, everybody, take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll see. I'll see you tomorrow night.